we come to a decade that's important to you, Dave, which is the 1980s.
Yes.
Because I believe this is around the time you started in our business.
It is indeed, Ken.
And I believe there's a watch sitting right there that means an awful lot to you.
There are a couple, actually.
Okay.
Back in the 1980s, when I first started in this industry in 1983, my football team had just won the championship in 1981 and the European Cup in 1982. Aston Villa, of course. Right. Founders of the Football League. But we're here to talk about watches today. Yes, with regards to the watches of that era, I remember starting off and there was a watch brand called TAG Heuer, who from 1985 onwards, Technique Avant-Garde joined up with the Heuer brand, and they introduced some watches called the Formula One, which had some bright colours. They'd have the metal case with a plastic, with the orange strap, with the blue strap, with the green strap, the fluorescent dials, and the Formula One at that time was very much the watch.
And it was also affordable, I seem to recall.
It was. I mean, it was probably about 65 or 85 pounds back then. It's still today, if any of my pals are saying to me, my son's 18 years old or what have you, what do you recommend? I always look at a Formula One because I think that's a great entry into the world of watchmaking. Water resistant, 200 meters, sapphire crystal glass, rubber strap, which means they can go swimming, give it a bash, don't worry about it. So that era, the TAG Heuer for me, the 80s was very much the TAG Heuer era when I was growing up in this industry.
Well, the other thing it gave people was heritage, because as we were speaking about the 60s with the arrival of the automatic chronograph, Heuer was part of that. And every collector will tell you right now the most desirable among the most desirable vintage watches are all of those Heuers named after race courses, the Silverstone, for example,
yes,
the Monaco, and of course. And this gave them a taste. But I see here, and this is illustrative of the way the public's knowledge, taste, or preferences in watches have changed. In the 50s, 60s, 70s, people had one watch. If they had a job-related watch, like if they were divers, they bought a Submariner or a Doxa. But by this time, watches are starting to become part of one's personality. And it was also aspirational. But I see now, because 30, 40 years on, TAG Heuer has moved this up the scale in terms of quality, price. So this is no longer a budget entry-level watch that you would buy with pocket money. It's now joined the serious TAG Heuer ranges.
Yes. So yes, and it has most definitely, and it does extremely well for us. It's a fantastic brand. Another brand which is doing particularly well is Hublot. And I remember when they first came out in the early 80s, they were the first brand to bring out rubber straps.
That's right.
I remember actually the straps used to smell of vanilla back when they first, I think it was, and Carlo Crocco launched the brand, which he wanted to create the porthole design of, is the Hublot French for porthole?
I'm not sure.
I'll have to have that double checked.
The porthole was definitely his inspiration.
Yeah. It took him 3 years to design the actual strap, the rubber strap. And then they launched it in Basel in 1980.
I wonder why he chose vanilla, though.
I don't know. But he launched it in Basel in 1980. He didn't take an order in Basel, but then later on that year, it came on, and I think they took $2 million worth of orders on Hublot. But I remember at the time, even the master catalogue had a rubber coated front as well, and it was quite very different. Fast forward now, you see, the England manager will be wearing a Hublot watch. It's synonymous with sport. Hublot are very much pioneers of supporting the England football team, various different football teams. Depeche Mode,
that's right,
Hublot. Paris Saint-Germain, their Hublot.
But it's interesting because today Hublot's strength is the Big Bang.
Yes.
Whereas this, which is a current model, And I noticed it's the classic fusion. This looks like the original Hublots, but if you put it next to one,
Yes.
it would absolutely dwarf it.
Yes.
I remember they were relatively tiny compared to this.
Yes, you're right. And that's the reason why I've pulled out a classic fusion, because it takes me back to those early 1980s.
And it shows how the evolution, again, we've been talking about this in every decade, size has gone up. Mercifully, you mentioned to me earlier that people are leveling off, and this craziness like 48 mil, that's no longer the case. This is what, 44?
Yes, correct.
And again, for someone with small wrists, that might be a bit oversized, but equally, the original looks as tiny as that Calatrava we spoke about earlier.
Yeah.
And Hublot is one of the biggest success stories in watch history. It's just phenomenal. The Big Bang, I believe, is one of the few watches that came out after the 70s that joins the Royal Oak, the Nautilus, and the Laureato in competing in that sector
Yes.
of luxury sport watches. So I would say they're the four.
Yeah.